another late wrap up, but let's talk about the 13 books that I read in March. I read a total of 3,894 pages with a 3.65 average rating. I'll also have timestamps linked below if you want to jump around to certain sections of this video, but let's go ahead and start with the books in order from which I read them. So the first book that I read this month was Through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shauna McGuire. I gave this one 2.5 stars. This is the 11th book in the Wayward Children series, which is a series I absolutely love, which is obviously why I've read up to book 11. And this one just really didn't work for me. This is a YA portal fantasy series following these children who end up finding portals to different worlds, and these worlds are like their dream worlds that fits their personality perfectly, and sometimes they end up getting like thrown out of their world and they come back to reality. And when they do, they get sent to Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children, which is basically a school where all these kids go in order to try and either like find their door back to their world or just try to get used to being back in reality. And I just really love this series and I really love the characters. It is such a diverse series, but in this book we are following sort of our original cast of characters as they go on this quest. And I don't want to get into it too much or spoil anything, but this cast of characters is going back to the Hall of the Dead, which is a world in which people are basically still like statues, and their whole thing is trying to be as still as possible, seeing how long they can hold these positions and everything. But in these halls, as the name of this world suggests, the dead end up roaming these halls, and if they move, they could get eaten by the dead. And so there's this whole big thing going on that these characters have to take care of, and this one just really did not work for me. I do love our original cast of characters, but the writing in this one just did not work for me. I think we were following way too many characters, and the author does a point of view for every single one of the characters, but not just like our main group that's doing the quest. We also get random side characters' perspectives as well, and these would just change like by paragraph, and it was just really throwing me out of the story. So even though I absolutely love this series, this book just really was not my favorite. Then I read Deal with the Devil by Lizzie Strong, which I gave 3 stars. This is a smutty sort of fantasy story in which we're following these 2 sisters who end up getting into some trouble. One of them is married to this guy who's not good and has gotten into some trouble with the mafia, and that goes back onto these 2 sisters. And our main character ends up making a deal with the main like mafia boss, or like as the title suggests, deal with the devil, and she ends up having to stay at his house for 24 hours, and they end up getting involved in this sort of mystery that involves vampires. And I really like Lizzie Strong's writing, and I love her characters and her worlds. We are back in a world that I have read from before, which I really enjoyed, but for this one I just think a little too much was going on. Besides there being the romance and the mystery aspect, as well as some fantastical elements that like had this witch plot going on, I just think there's just way too much going on. Because of all of this, I feel like the romance wasn't as developed as I would need it to be. Again, this is very much a smut heavy book, and for me, I need to feel that like emotional connection first, and I just did not get that. And again, I think this was like a very solid book. I did like all the elements going on in it, but just a little too much going on that I couldn't fully connect with any part of it. Then I read Unbuild Walls by Silky Shaw, which I gave 4 stars. This is a nonfiction book all about abolition. It follows like the last 40-ish years of government immigration policy, as well as different abolitionist movements. I found this one really interesting. I did decide to pick this one up because I want to educate myself more on immigrant justice, specifically with the uptick in ICE raids that we're seeing. I just wanted to really know the history of it and what all has been going on, and I learned a lot from this book. I found it very fascinating, and yeah, I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I got exactly what I wanted out of this book. I thought the author did a really good job. The author is herself an activist who is playing a big part in these movements, and so I liked hearing the author's side of all of this and what all has been going on, hearing from someone who has been very much involved in these things for many, many years. I just thought it was a really great book, and I would just really recommend it if you're also interested in learning about immigration. The next couple of books I did read for my mood reading 5-star predictions video. I will have that linked in the cards and down in the description if you'd like to check it out. But for these books, since I did do a whole dedicated vlog to them, I'm not going to go too in depth into what these books are. But in this vlog, I read Sweat and Soap Volume 8, which I gave 4.5 stars. I read Volume 9 and Volume 10. I gave both of those 4 stars. And Volume 11 is the conclusion to the series, and I gave this one 5 stars. This is one of my all-time favorite romance mangas, and I would just highly recommend checking it out. Velocity Weapon by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is one I gave 3 stars. This is an adult sci-fi book, and it is the first in the series. You Won't Forget Me by Maisie Eddings. I gave 4 stars. This is an arc I got from NetGalley, which doesn't release until June, but this is a sapphic romance. And the last book I read for this vlog was Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Hong, which I gave 3.5 stars. And this is more of a literary fiction type of book with some horror undertones. After that, I read One Night in Hartswood by Emma Denny, which I gave 2 stars. This one I did buddy read with my friend, and both of us had the same opinion that this book was too trope heavy. It was like the author was writing to hit these tropes, or that this book was more written in sort of a fan fiction-y type of way. But this is a medieval historical queer romance following these 2 guys, and they sort of have this forced proximity relationship where they are both out in the forest alone and they have to rely on each other to survive. And for me, I just did not feel the chemistry of the relationship in this one. And also towards the end, we do get some bigger like plot twists or plot events that end up happening that I'm not going to spoil, but they happen very quickly and cause the characters to act in a way that I don't think we necessarily get to see them grow into. And I just need more of that character development. Well, it makes sense that these characters end up acting this way. We don't get to see that full progression, which is what I personally need to see in books, but yeah, this one just really did not work for me. Everyone's Seen My Tits by Keely Hazel is a collection of stories by the author, and they are detailing the author's life as a topless model. The author talks a lot about the way people treat her because of this, and her intention was never necessarily to get involved in this. She just sort of wanted a stable job, and people were pushing her towards modeling, but the only job she got was one where she was shirtless, and so she is sort of trying to work her way up. But I guess the main crux of this one is that the author's ex leaks this video of her that was very scandalous, and she is obviously very hurt, very traumatized by all this. And as she was working her way up in her modeling career, everyone sort of dropped her because of this. No one's really taking her side or helping her out during this. She talks a lot about how when this happened, a lot of protections towards women weren't established in the law yet. And I just thought this was such a great book. I think if you're looking for a really great memoir, definitely check this one out. I loved hearing the author's stories and seeing where she came from. She definitely lived a very different life than I live, and just seeing the way she grew up was very fascinating. And if you've been around on this channel for a while, you know that I really enjoy feminist literature, and so I'm really happy that I read this one. Just a really great one that I would really recommend. And then the last book that I read in March was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I did do a whole reading vlog where I read 3 of Emily Henry's books, and this is one of them. So I won't talk too much about this one. I will just point you towards that video that I will also have in the cards and in the description if you are interested. But this is a romance book that takes place over the summer in a small town, and it definitely turns that small town twist on its head. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I would really recommend it. But those are all of the books that I read in March. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely let me know what your favorite book you read in March was. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!